16. Think about that for a second. 16. Before this absolutely wild weekend, that was the magic number for the Indian men's cricket team. For nearly 3 years, across 16 straight bilateral series outings, India literally hadn't lost a single T20 international series. I mean, they were this towering, unstoppable force in the shortest format of the game, rolling into the weekend as the reigning double T20 world champions. But as we're about to see, man, in the game of cricket, reputations can be absolutely dismantled in just a matter of hours.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're breaking down one of the most shocking weekends in modern sports history. We're going to dive deep into the tactical, the dramatic, and, honestly, the kind of logic-defying breakdown of how the Ireland cricket team pulled off a 2-0 series sweep against the absolute giants of world cricket, India, right in the heart of Belfast.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover a historic cricket upset, Ireland's new heroes, an autopsy of India's defeat, a wildly controversial 15-year-old snub, and finally, what's next for India.
Let's jump right into part 1, a historic cricket upset.
Let's set the stage over at the Stormont Cricket Ground. The atmosphere was absolutely electric, but honestly, very few people actually expected the host to topple the world champions. And here's the thing, Ireland didn't just stumble into a lucky win, they earned it across two very different types of games. In match 1, they put up a massive 182 and then just completely dominated, bowling India out for 148 to grab a super convincing 34-run victory. But match 2, that is where the real grit showed up. Defending a pretty modest 154, the Irish bowlers held their nerve against a late Indian surge, scraping by with a heart-stopping one-run win. They outplayed the champions when things were flying high, and they outfought them in the absolute trenches.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, Ireland's new heroes.
You know, there's an old saying that cricket doesn't respect reputation, it respects courage. And under that Belfast sky, Ireland found two incredible breakout debutantes who just completely dismantled that vaunted Indian batting order. First, you've got Matt Hollard, a fast bowler who finished as the leading wicket-taker of the entire series with 6 scalps, even taking home Player of the Match honors in that first game. And then, there's just an absolutely fascinating story in Jai Mundhra. He's actually an India-born left-arm pacer who originally moved to Ireland to get a master's degree in electronics and communication. Mundhra took 5 wickets in the series, literally rewiring the circuits of international cricket against the very country he was born in.
And Mundhra actually created this unbelievable statistical anomaly, 4. During his devastating opening spell in the second match, he removed Indian openers Sanju Samson and Abhishek Sharma on consecutive first deliveries. Guys, that marks only the 4th time in the entire extensive history of 2020 internationals that both openers for a team fell for Golden Ducks. It was basically a surgical strike that left India totally reeling at 19 for 3 inside the first 3 overs. Crazy, right?
Let's get into Section 3, Autopsy of India's Defeat.
Now, dissecting exactly why the world champions fell apart gives us a really fascinating look into the tactical side of things. A quick tactical autopsy reveals 3 fatal flaws. First off, India brought this reckless, flat-pitch, IPL-style batting approach to a pitch that really demanded respect. Second, they showed a glaring inability to handle swinging, seaming conditions. They were trying to just forcefully hit absolutely everything instead of, playing late. And third, they completely failed to adapt to the actual physical dimensions of the ground itself.
There was just this massive gap in intensity and strategy. India basically tried to brute force the game. They were way too used to a tempo where you can just hit 6s freely, so they looked super rushed and just kept losing wickets in clusters. Ireland, on the flip side, played incredibly smart, diligent cricket. They respected the moving ball, they smartly utilized the swing and bounce, and they waited patiently to capitalize on loose deliveries. It was a literal masterclass in playing the conditions, rather than just playing the opponent.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Shreyas Iyer, India's newly appointed T20 captain, whose leadership tenure, by the way, started with this exact setback, he fully admitted that setting the field felt outlandish. Why? Because his team was totally accustomed to the perfectly even, circular grounds of the IPL. They completely failed to analyze the slow, heavy outfield and the more squarish dimensions of the Belfast ground, which made cutting off singles and doubles incredibly challenging.
India's assistant coach Ryan Tendosite really doubled down on this accountability too. He noted the disbelief in the camp, but bluntly stated they were just outsmarted by a team doing the basics well. He pointed out that India's inability to transition their tempo from the IPL to those spicier, trickier Irish conditions was their ultimate undoing. And honestly, this is the big takeaway here for us. Raw talent alone absolutely cannot overcome a lack of preparation for local conditions.
All right, on to Section 4, the 15-year-old snub.
So, while tactical failures and adaptation issues explain a huge part of the story, India's selection choices threw a massive layer of controversy into the mix. Like, who on earth was missing from this lineup while the Indian top order was collapsing for those golden ducks?
Well, the answer is pretty staggering. 15-year-old batting prodigy Vaibhav Suryavanshi. This teenage sensation literally tore apart some of the world's best bowlers just weeks prior, topping the IPL batting charts with a massive 776 runs for the Rajasthan Royals. We're talking a century and 550s. Yet, when India was desperately struggling to find runs and stability against Ireland, this generational phenom was surprisingly left on the bench for both games. For a team that really lacked fearless stroke play in crucial moments, leaving their most in form, fearless young player on the sidelines was a decision that absolutely baffled the cricketing world.
Finally, Section 5. What's next for India?
The fallout from this defeat places immense, immediate pressure on India, and they literally have zero time to lick their wounds. I mean, the ink is barely dry on this historic upset in Belfast, and they are already packing their bags for a massive white ball tour of England starting on July 1st in Chesterley Street. That series features 5 T20s and 3 ODIs against a very tough English squad. And right after they wrap up in England, they fly straight to Harare for a 3-match T20 series against Zimbabwe kicking off on July 23rd. The spotlight has literally never been brighter, and the runway to fix these issues is practically non-existent.
Which brings us to the ultimate question. I'll leave you with this provocative thought to wrap up our explainer today. Does this 2-0 sweep expose a deep, fundamental flaw in India's IPL-centric preparation? As they move on to those quicker English wickets, will the world champions completely overhaul their white ball strategy to finally respect local conditions? Or will they finally dare to unleash their 15-year-old prodigy to shock the system? The entire world is watching to see how giants respond when they finally hit the ground. Thank you so much for joining me today, and keep your eyes on the pitch.